as a port of a 6-year-old game that itself was the 4th installment in a series that began 6 years earlier as a modern version of the original Super Mario Bros. From 2 decades prior. There isn't a whole lot that's new about New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, beyond the Deluxe that's been added to the title, a fact that's more evident now than ever before, as the past 6 years have not been particularly kind to this game. So, if there isn't much new here, you might be wondering what exactly makes this the Deluxe version. Well, that seems to largely hinge on the fact that the DLC expansion New Super Luigi U is included in the package. Although that compilation already existed on the Wii U as well, only without the Deluxe moniker. But there have been some small improvements to the presentation too. Both games, for instance, now run at 1080p instead of the Wii U 720, which really makes the lifeless art style pop slightly more than before. But perhaps the best addition, legitimately, is how HD Rumble has been incorporated throughout the experience. You'll now feel a slight jolt every time you hit a box or shoot a fireball, as well as the flutter of Yoshi's kicks, or the sensation of taking a warp pipe. You'll even feel the collapsing skeleton of a dry bones underneath your feet. Yeah, it's a bit morbid, but it feels great. The menus have also been freshened up a bit, even if mostly imperceptibly. And then, of course, there's a newcomer Toadette and her weird Peachette power-up, which is the only truly new content in the game. She essentially functions as a new, easier Funky Kong-like difficulty mode, adding 100 seconds to the clock and changing 1-ups into 3-ups. And Toadette is the only one who can grab the new Super Crown power-up, which is what transforms her into Peachette, which is extremely weird. And it's best to not ask questions. Trust me, this is one nabbit hole you don't want to go down. Now, as a power-up, Peachette is effectively just a better version of the flying squirrel suit, granting her superior air control, including the ability to dart straight upward and turn without losing altitude. In addition, she also gains the improved swimming abilities of the penguin suit, which is rather nice, especially if you're not a fan of water levels. Does anyone really like them anyway? Finally, she'll automatically rebound once if you fall into a bottomless pit. So yeah, Toadette/Peachette can be a little OP, but I generally did find her slightly more enjoyable to play than the standard characters because of her greater maneuverability. Unfortunately, even with Toadette, replaying New Super Mario Bros. U made me realize a harsh truth. I just don't enjoy the New Super Mario Bros. Games anymore as single-player experiences. The art style is insipid, with the worlds feeling flat and unlively. The music is often an assault on the ears, oh my god, this needs to stop! And even the gameplay feels dated. Being booted back to the world map after dying just feels archaic in this day and age. And then there are the power-ups, which this time around just ended up annoying me as they often feel as limiting as they are liberating, with the mini mushroom being the best example of this, lending the game a floatier, less precise feel while making you more vulnerable. Even the marquee squirrel suit just isn't that fun to use compared to past flying power-ups like the cape, which, to be fair, is a deficit that Peachette slightly makes up for with her superior air control. I struggled to play through New Super Mario Bros. U again for this review, as it failed to engage me on almost any level. The constantly repeating enemies, level, and musical themes just blended together, making it difficult for even the somewhat varied gameplay mechanics to stand out. The game basically lulled me into autopilot, where I consumed level after level, world after world, with nary a memory of what I had just played. You know that feeling when you suddenly remember that you're driving a car, but you have no recollection of the last several miles? That is New Super Mario Bros. U in a nutshell, at least for me. And it probably doesn't help that a lot of us have been playing New Super Mario Bros. U style levels for years in Super Mario Maker, many of which are far more interesting in design than the ones here. With all that being said, there are two comparative bright spots to the New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe experience. First up is New Super Luigi U, because it actually feels somewhat distinct by New Super Mario Bros. Standards. Yeah, it still reuses the same old art style, annoying music, and even the world map, but the levels themselves have been remixed into all new creations that are significantly shorter, more challenging, and thus, more interesting. With only 100 seconds on the clock for each one, these levels are built for speed, and reward precision playing, which stands in stark contrast to the more leisurely pace of the rest of the game. It's pretty fun and exciting to try and fly through these levels, as they propel you forward in ways that 2D Mario rarely has before. It's just a shame they weren't paired with more interesting assets, as New Super Luigi U had the potential to be something more. Of course, the shorter levels do mean that Luigi's adventure is only about half as long as the main game, which isn't necessarily a negative. The other high point of Deluxe is multiplayer, which is the only redeeming part I found in the New Super Mario Bros. U portion of the game, As my friends and myself bounced over, into, and even on top of each other, we nearly split our sides in laughter at points. Even as we fought over power-ups and slurped each other up as Yoshi to carry each other to safety, or spit them out into a bottomless pit. It really depended on how we felt. It's often incredibly dumb and the antithesis of what I usually want in a platforming game. And yet, it kind of works, and is actually more fun than I remembered. So I'll give you kudos for that, New Super Mario Bros. U. But there is a weird quirk in the multiplayer this time around compared to the non-deluxe version, with Toadette effectively replacing one of the original Toads. That means at least one of the 4 players will always have to play with a handicap, as they'll be stuck with either her or Nabbit, who himself is completely invulnerable to enemies. And that's doubly the case in New Super Luigi U because Mario's missing in action, making either Toadette or Nabbit a requirement for a 3-player game, and both of them for a 4-player game. Now, this may not matter to you. I mean, after all, I still had fun. But it is utterly bizarre to me that there's no way to play through these games as they were originally intended, with every player having access to characters with the same abilities, as opposed to the lopsided experience that it is now. There is one more change in New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe that I haven't mentioned yet, and that makes the game play worse than the original version for one baffling reason. The mid-air twirl that buys you an extra second or so of airtime can now be performed simply by tapping jump again while in the air, instead of being assigned a separate button as it was on Wii U. Now at first, this might seem like a smart decision. Simplifying the controls and making the game a near-perfect 2-button experience isn't a bad idea on paper. But here's the problem. I found myself twirling by mistake constantly when I intended to perform other actions, like trying to wall jump or high bouncing off an enemy. And that can really throw you off. It adds imprecision in the game that demands otherwise. It's baffling to me that there isn't an option to disable this, even if you probably will adjust to it eventually. Furthermore, due to the lack of the Wii U's gamepad, New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe is actually missing some content compared to the original release. Boost mode, which permitted an additional player to spawn platforms simply by tapping on the screen, has been completely removed, along with its associated challenges in challenge mode. I didn't find it to be a huge loss personally, but your mileage may vary. And that might be a good way to sum up my review. Your mileage may vary. While the single-player experience nearly bored me to tears, at least for New Super Mario Bros. U, that might not be the case for those new to the series, or even those just looking for more of a New Super Mario Bros. Experience. And that goes for the air twirling control issue too. It bugs me as a longtime fan, but if you're new to the game or less experienced with games in general, it might work better for you. But it's my perspective as a longtime Mario fan that makes New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe such a disappointing experience to return to. Mario used to be a trendsetter for side-scrolling games, pushing the boundaries of what could be done, and raising the bar by which all 2D platformers would be measured. And while it's not the fault of the game that better ones have come along since, I think the truth of the matter is that New Super Mario Bros. U wasn't ever that compelling in the first place, at least as a single-player experience. And then there's the issue of it not even living up to its deluxe moniker. With it technically missing content from the Wii U version, the introduction of a frustrating new control issue, as well as that weird multiplayer quirk that forces some players to play with a handicap, even if they don't want to. It's almost a little ironic that a game that hews so closely to Mario's origin didn't take more inspiration from Super Mario Bros.' own original deluxe version, which actually offered compelling new content above and beyond the ported material. So that's why New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe has left me feeling mixed overall. While it still offers pockets of fun, especially with the right friends, it feels old and tired as a single-player experience, with only New Super Luigi U offering anything close to a lively time. So if you're looking to recapture some of that old-school platforming magic instead of just retreading it, pick up Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze instead. Whether it's visually, audibly, or mechanically, it blows past New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe in every possible way. Except for multiplayer, which hey, might be all you need. And with that, thanks for watching, and make sure to click that subscribe button for more New Super Mario Bros. Rants and everything else Nintendo too.